Hey, what's up everybody? Thank you as always for stopping by the channel. I have an action-packed video for you guys today. We're diving into the Raid franchise to break down my picks for the top 10 fight scenes in these two joyfully violent flicks. Now, since we're going to be talking about and looking back at what some would consider to be graphic material, viewer discretion, of course, is advised. These are extremely violent movies, and it would be impossible to cover the best fight sequences in them without getting a little bit of cinematic blood on you. Also, naturally, there's going to be some spoilers in this video for both movies, so if you haven't seen these films and don't want them ruined, or are a little bit squeamish, then you may want to pass on this video. However, if you're still here, buckle up and let's get into it, starting with some honorable mentions in no particular order. Honorable mention number 1 would be a sequence I like to call Rama clears out a warehouse from the Raid 2. It's a solid sequence overall. The choreography in places is very tight, it's very fluid. I love how Iko uses the momentum of his enemies to his advantage and how that was worked into the surrounding environment for some pretty cool takedowns. It's a scene that would rank higher in other films of lesser quality, but this is the Raid franchise and the competition is very tough, yet I gotta say, this ending frenzy of punches is a real treat. Honorable mention number 2 for me would be a sequence I call Rama's Backseat Frenzy, also from the Raid 2. I do enjoy this set piece as a whole when added with the carnage of the car chase that's happening outside while Iko's Rama is duking it out inside of the car. It also is extremely creative how he uses the interior of the car to take out his enemies, but again, the competition is tough and the actual fight here seems to go on a little long when the driver could have just hit the brakes. And finally, honorable mention number 3 is a scene I call Rama redecorates a restaurant from the Raid 2 as well. This is a solid sequence that gets the adrenaline going. Rama does take out a modest-sized group of henchmen in this restaurant. It's fast-paced, it's violent, the knife play is a fun addition, Rama's use of the sauce bottles is a nice violent touch as well, but nothing in this scene really pops for me, and the timing of the choreography does reveal itself in the flow of the scene overall. So those were my honorable mentions. Now let's get into the best of the best with my picks for the top 10 fight scenes in the Raid franchise. Coming in at number 10, I picked the drug lab battle from the Raid 1. I certainly think this scene pops and stands out simply due to the overall orchestration and timing of all the moving parts going on here. You have multiple fights going on and the camera really flows between them all seamlessly. You see other fighting taking place in the backdrop while two other guys are trading blows, which creates a lot of depth that I find to be very immersive as the viewer. There are multiple fighting styles on display, and with it all happening at once, there's a nice, fun, chaotic vibe to the scene that I think fits the mood of that place in the story perfectly. Plus, by this time in the film, Rama's in a desperate fight for his life. There's an unhinged appeal to his dishing out punches and kicks that's really able to mask over moments of overtiming in the choreography. The use of the background environment really results in a collection of bone-crunching takedowns, delivering that cringe of action movie delight. The stunt work overall, not just in the fight choreography, but how bodies are seen flung all over the place, make it a memorable scene, topped off with another fluid burst of knife work from Rama that for me is the spotlight of this killing spree. In at number 9, I picked a scene that I like to call Hammer Girl Rides the Train from the Raid 2. Now, the Hammer Girl fight actually takes place intermingled with a couple of others as Beijo and Uko mount their takeover of Uko's father's empire, but I certainly think her efforts dismantling a crew inside of a very tight train with a couple of ordinary hammers is the spotlight of the entire sequence. To me, it's really a collection of elements that make this a great battle that's inside of a larger action set piece. First, the character is very unique with her diva shades and her ordinary hammers. There's an innocence to her attire and her demeanor, but she kills with ease and without emotion, so there's a bit of an unveiling of mystery when this battle kicks into gear that I think only heightens the intrigue overall. Hammer Girl is a character that could easily have her own spin-off movie in my opinion. Watching her rip this crew up with her hammers is appealing because there's just an alluring layer of creativity to her character, and her fighting style is just completely brutal overall, and the film does not hold back on the blood, resulting in a sequence that will have your eyes wide open in awe as the blood flies in all directions. My number 8 pick also comes from the Raid 2, and it has to be the Prison Riot. I think this is a fantastic, gritty sequence overall. It's large scale, it's intricately choreographed and beautifully shot. The camera work just pulls you right into the middle of this grisly prison riot that provides both martial arts and just pure fighting for survival, with plenty of shanks and other crude weapons tossed into this muddy playground as well. It's a grisly battle that has so many different moving parts to it that are all working in unison to create an elegantly fluid sequence of just brutal killing. The camera flows from one cluster of savage fighting to another without breaking the shot, and it just naturally creates an elevated level of tension and uneasiness, while at the same time adding to the adrenaline rush as well, because it's just cool to watch. Because while watching, you're just pulled right into the middle of the chaos like you're an invisible person with everything happening around you. The technical difficulty of creating this sequence had to be through the roof, and they pulled it off because it looks fantastic. It would easily be the climax of most other movies, but here it was just the closing of the first act. In at number 7, I picked the Mad Dog vs. Jaka showdown from the Raid 1. We go from large scale to one-on-one for this pick, and I think it's a fantastic sequence that really just uses the perfect styling of fight choreography. You know every move is going to be planned out in a movie fight scene, but here it really just feels like two men fighting for their lives where moves can be sudden and unpredictable. This fight is extremely fast-paced. It flows from elegantly fluid to completely primal. This was the introduction for Mad Dog as the first film's primary villain, and Yeon Ruyan was the perfect choice for the role. His delivery, and even more so his fighting style, truly captured the essence of a Mad Dog to earn the character's name with his unrelenting frenzy of kicks, punches, and counter moves. Joe Taslim and Ruyan really give their all in the sequence to mask over much of the choreography with their intensity and their timing. It's one of the more naturally realistic fights in the franchise, and it's because of Taslim and Ruyan really selling it with their chemistry, as well as the steady camera work that this franchise really thrives on, and here it pulls you right into the intimacy of this fight to the death. Next up at number 6, I picked the sequence I like to call the Prakoso Nightclub Double Cross from the Raid 2. How this sequence is staged in the film overall, I think, is why it made my list, as opposed to simply basing it off the choreography and the execution of the fighting. Yaya Ruyan, who played Mad Dog in the Raid 1, plays this character named Prakoso in this film. When he realizes he's been set up, the following couple minutes deliver all the acrobatic fighting style from Ruyan that we really loved seeing from him as Mad Dog in the Raid 1. And he certainly holds his own against a small army, but instead of simply stringing this fight sequence out, it cuts away after a sequence of frenetic ass-kicking from Ruyan. The screen goes black, it triggers maximum intrigue as to what will happen, and then when Prakoso bursts out into the alleyway, it's clear to see that he may have won the war, but he is going to lose the battle. And it was subtle, but I really loved it here, how Ruyan played that character who would introduce the film's new mysterious villain named the Assassin, much like Joe Taslim did in the first movie for Mad Dog in my last pick. Here, the music is elegant, the tension builds as Uko is exposed for his double cross, and as the assassin slowly approaches and pulls his blades to reveal his weapon of choice, a silent passing of the torch is made from one villain to another. And with that, guys, we're halfway through the list. Coming in at number 5 is a scene I like to call Rama's hallway knife fight from the Raid 1. By now it should be of no surprise that I love knife work inside of fight choreography. I think it heightens the tension nicely. It provides that vicious, fun slicing, dicing, and stabbing that amp up the intensity and the violence perfectly. I love the choreography of this sequence and how the camera and the fight flows through the hallway. The frame of the shot is always in the right place, and the shakiness is very minimal. Rama delivers some appealing combinations with his knife that really gets the adrenaline pumping. He's precise and ruthless with his blade and his nightstick, which translates into a frenzy of defense, counter moves, and very close calls to keep you on edge. The speed and the timing of this sequence is very fluid, and it results in one of the more polished fight scenes in the franchise despite its subtlety. This sequence is a pure fight for survival, and the choreography really gives it a fun, natural, authentic vibe and tone. Rama and his injured partner are at a severe disadvantage, but that doesn't stop Rama from taking guys out with a frenetic pace, and the weaponry is really a great element to just add some creativity to the fighting style. It also increases the anxiety from the already claustrophobic feel of the tight hallways. We're moving from the first Raid movie to the second for my number 4 pick, and this is a sequence that's probably best titled as Rama vs. Hammer Girl and Baseball Batman. Now sure, seeing your main character take out a crew of meaningless henchmen can be some fun. However, it's really different when our protagonists go up against some of the middle to upper tier villains, those who've had a reputation already built out earlier in the film. There's a heightened level of enjoyment for the anticipation of seeing the inevitable confrontation, and that's exactly what this sequence provides. The choreography in this scene is very intricate, it's excellently crafted, it's a brutal 2-on-1 showdown, and the fast pace of the scene makes it such a rush to watch. The balance between Hammer Girl and Baseball Batman is really worked into the flow of the scene to kind of mask the planning of the moves. Rama is in a near constant defense and counter move strategy with hammers and a bat being swung at him in all directions, and there's plenty of close calls as well to just give you that very tense, unnerving feeling while you watch. The intensity of this sequence is through the roof. It's an absolute joy for action movie fans, specifically martial arts action movie fans. Rama takes a ton of damage, but he delivers some as well. The ambition and the creativity and the choreography of this sequence results in a seamless stream of violence, blood, and fluid physical ability, and it's just another brutal sequence in this franchise that really knows how to have fun amongst the fatalities, as Rama takes out Hammer Girl with her own hammers and Baseball Batman with his own bat before casually walking off to the next confrontation. Alright guys, we're getting down to the nitty gritty, and my pick for number 3 is a sequence I call Rama vs. the Machete Gang from the Raid 1. This is a great showdown in the middle of the movie. It has multiple guys all moving at breakneck speed, and the fluidity of it is fantastic to watch on screen. This machete-wielding crew had been lurking around this building for a while. It was inevitable they would run into Rama, and with nowhere to run, Rama launches into action with a string of great martial arts combat. And again, here the pacing really is what makes this scene even more intense. That added with immaculate camera work. I mean, this scene should be taught in film schools for how to hold, position, and move the camera during action. The top-down perspective is awesome, and it concludes with a satisfyingly barbaric takedown on a broken door that is one of the more memorable moments in the entire film and the franchise for me. Only the sequence isn't even done yet. It flows into an apartment where Rama is forced to fight his way down to the hulking leader of this machete gang. The choreography there changes very subtly as Rama's speed goes up against brute force. The intensity continues to rise, as does the pace, before a clever combination from Rama concludes it with a very satisfying neck-breaking punch to end what I think is a splendid sequence of action. And with that said, we have a couple scenes left, guys, and for my number 2 pick, I selected the 2-on-1 finale from the Raid 1, where Rama and his brother Andy battled it out with Mad Dog. Simply put, this is a world-class finale fight in my opinion. The choreography here is impressive to say the least. Mad Dog in this sequence is on another level as nearly every part of his body is used as a weapon. Rama and Andy throw everything they have at him, they gain the upper hand, and just as quickly, Mad Dog slips away to counter their best shots with a savage intensity. The camera work is pristine, it pulls you right into the middle of this primal showdown that continually ramps up with each passing minute. Mad Dog is going non-stop, he's flung across the room and countered, but immediately has a second counter move, and each time he reasserts control of the fight, you kind of naturally begin to worry if the good guys are really going to be able to win this one. I think the creativity overall in this exhibition of martial arts violence is an art unto itself. This scene lasts for several minutes, yet the same move is rarely repeated, and it's absolutely amazing to watch. Punches, kicks, knees, crisp defense, fighting styles you've never seen before. This scene really delivers it all. It comes down to the final seconds with a section of a fluorescent light bulb sticking out of this guy's neck to bring Mad Dog to his knees, and when he finally drops, as the viewer, you can finally exhale. And with that scene in the books, guys, we've reached my #1 pick for the best fight scene in the Raid franchise, and of course, it'd have to be the kitchen finale from the Raid 2 as Rama goes head to head with the assassin. Now this was a tough decision, but I think this scene has to make the top of the list, just slightly above the Raid 1 finale. I mean, we've seen so many one-on-one showdowns in movies, but this one truly is one of a kind, from the staging of the fight's progression overall, the balance of pure fighting, martial arts, and the kitchen environment, with spectacular performances from Uwais and Rama, just make this yet another perfect closing showdown for a martial arts movie. The intensity builds nicely as Rama and the assassin size each other up. The pleasure on the assassin's face is kind of a charming dose of bravado just before these guys go at each other with all they have. The fight styling in this sequence is absolutely dynamic. It goes back and forth. Each guy gets their advantage. Each man takes their share of hits, which progressively starts to show on both of them. And the assassin goes blow for blow with Rama, and it's easily going to have you up on your seat and completely locked in to see where it's going to go. And just as the fight seems to be going towards Rama's advantage, the assassin pulls his blades and the entire complexion of the fight changes. Rama loses the upper hand and immediately goes on the defense as a barrage of knife attacks come his way. It really turns into a game of cat and mouse, and the uneasiness and the suspense only elevates higher as you can sense each man is really nearing the end of their rope. And like a symphony that heightens the electrifying intensity before closing out, this scene does the exact same as Rama slices and dices the assassin with one last blood-spilling combination of strikes to end it in an instant. It's just a fantastic sequence that is done right on so many levels. The staging, the production design, the choreography, the direction, the performances, all of it is top of the line here to result in one of the best one-on-one finales in film history. And that's it, everybody. There it is. That's my list. Those are my top 10 picks for the best fight scenes in the Raid franchise. Let me know what some of your picks would be. I love these two films, and it was such a great time going back and forth and breaking down the best fights because there really were so many options. I think each movie is awesome for their own individual reasons, and I think they certainly raised the bar for modern day martial arts movies. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop it a thumbs up, leave a comment below. I'd love to talk movies with you guys. Share it with your friends, and without question, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can never miss a video. Here are some links to some recent reviews just in case you missed them. All my social media links and the link to our official website are down in the description below, and I'll catch you next time.